So I'm very happy to begin this launch, this high-level launch of the NDC Partnership. And you may know that together with my co-champion, Minister Akima Laite, and myself, we have been supporting this incredible good idea from the very start. This, in our view, is a very big achievement, a very big, strong political message we are sending today to the international community. So this initiative for us is the first steps of the implementation of the Paris spirit and the agreement we decided on December 12 last year. I will ask now Minister Akima Laite to come and make her introductory remarks.
Mesdames les ministres, messieurs les ministres, ma chère co-championne, Excellences, mesdames et messieurs, nous sommes ravis de vous avoir et nous sommes heureux que cette initiative connaisse autant d'engouement de votre part. Si vous êtes aussi nombreux aujourd'hui, c'est que vous avez, autant que nous, vous avez compris que c'est une initiative extrêmement importante pour la mise en œuvre de l'accord de Paris. Je voudrais à cet effet remercier nos partenaires et en leur tête, Madame la ministre Barbara, la ministre de l'Environnement de l'Allemagne, tous nos partenaires allemands, remercier Laurence pour avoir donné une impulsion avec le Maroc à cette initiative qui est au fait celle qui va nous permettre d'être au cœur de l'action. Nous, en tant que championnes, nous championnons l'action. Mais au cœur de l'accord de Paris, il y a un moteur. Et ce moteur, c'est les NDC. Et aujourd'hui, j'ai l'honneur et le privilège de déclarer le lancement officiel du NDC Partnership. Cette NDC Partnership, cette initiative qui permettra un réel partage. Et comme disait Monsieur le ministre Nizar Barakat, le partage, un réel partage entre les pays du Nord, les pays du Sud, qui permettra le renforcement de capacités, qui permettra d'apporter et d'être dans la coopération Nord-Sud et la coopération Sud-Sud pour que tous les pays qui ont besoin de mettre en œuvre leur NDC soient capables de le faire. Cette initiative regroupe également des acteurs financiers et des institutions internationales qui ont le savoir et qui ont la possibilité d'apporter leur soutien financier pour faire des NDCs une réalité sur le terrain. Nous sommes au cœur de l'action avec Laurence. Nous allons vivre le High Level Event le 17. Ce High Level Event au niveau duquel nous aurons de nombreuses annonces qui vont plus que des réalisations, donner de l'espoir au monde entier et dire au monde entier qu'il n'y a pas de point de retour, que nous sommes en mouvement et cette NDC Partnership vient être vraiment au cœur du dispositif de l'action. Et donc je voudrais vous dire combien nous sommes fiers de faire partie de cette initiative, souhaiter la bienvenue aux 42 pays qui nous ont rejoints et à toutes les institutions financières et les organismes internationaux qui donneront leur valeur ajoutée pour que les NDCs changent la réalité des peuples et des pays. Merci, mesdames et messieurs.
Thank you. And as Akima said, it is a big event for one of the big results, and there will be many, of COP22 in Marrakesh. I now call Dr. George Müller, Federal Minister for Economic Cooperation and Development, Germany.
Hello, good morning, Madam Minister, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. Climate change destroys development. Hurricane Matthew killed 1,000 people in Haiti. Worldwide, 1 human being is displaced every second as a result of a natural disaster. The Paris Agreement is a landmark agreement. For the first time ever, a significant number of countries agreed to adopt their own national climate targets, the NDCs. That is why we are here today to launch the NDC Partnership together. Our message is we are willing to support you. If you are willing to commit to a low-emission future, the NDC Partnership is not a new financing mechanism. We aim to make available technology and finance wherever it is needed, and we develop new instruments to share knowledge. This partnership will help us to better match supply with demand. We want to match financial resources with national climate action programs. Germany is going to invest its climate finance primarily in the NDC by its partners in developing countries. With the NDC partnership, we can align its efforts better with the efforts of other countries. The Paris Agreement and the SDGs are directions for action on low carbon development, on investments in environmentally friendly mobility, in climate-friendly cities, and in forest conservation, and on support for measures to adapt to climate change. Morocco, dear Minister, plans to generate more than half of its energy from renewable by 2030. Congratulations about this plan. Germany, I just visited Wasserstati, a wonderful project for the future. Germany and many other members of the NDC Partnership support Morocco's plan for solar power. We will shortly sign afterwards an agreement on phase 4 of the newer solar power complex. The NDC Partnership aims to create many more such alliances. Our NDC Partnership already has more than 42, yesterday evening 25, now this morning 42 partners. But we want the partnership to continue to grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Minister, and really I want to recognize the leadership of your country to develop this exciting project. It was really very forceful and very determined, and we get there in very, very few months. So congratulations to you and to Barbara, who have been such a powerful force behind this. I think now we will have short remarks from Donald Cooper on behalf of Patricia Espinosa. I don't see Donald. Here. There it is.
Good morning, everyone. And it is indeed a pleasure on behalf of Patricia Espinosa, the Executive Secretary of the Climate Change Secretariat, to have this opportunity to convey on her behalf congratulations and thank you for the expectations. It is a remarkable opportunity to look at the potential that this initiative is creating, to look at the momentum that is already being generated, and to think of where it could go. The relationship between Annex 1 and non-Annex 1 parties over the past couple of years, especially leading up to Paris, has changed significantly. It has become one of partnership and growth together, where the initiatives are launched at a national level and executed with the assistance of international cooperation. It is one where everyone can see the future development through a climate-resilient world. We are indeed fortunate to have this kind of leadership in the world today, taking that Paris feeling into Paris, Marrakesh, and onward doing. Implementation has become not only the buzzword, but the mantra. We really look forward from the Secretariat to supporting all of your initiatives, to patting you on the back when an excellent job is done, to getting formal recognition through the process to ensure that guidance is given by all parties, and to nudge, cajole, do whatever it takes to encourage all parties to maximize this unique opportunity in the world to move your national development, sustainable development, and low carbon emission development pathways together as one. Congratulations, and we really look forward to working with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Donald. I will call now Andrew. Andrew Steer is CEO of WRI. WRI has been, is, and will be a force of organization and really moving this ball, this fantastic ball. Andrew?
Good morning, everybody. We are now going to have the first test of the partnership. I'm going to ask all the ministers who are here and all the leaders of the institutions that are members to come onto the stage for a photograph. So let's see if we can work as partners together. We have here Australia, Bangladesh, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cote d'Ivoire. If you'd be willing to make the sides a little clear so the ministers could come up. If you'd all just come up now, I'd be grateful. Denmark, Democratic Republic of Congo, France, Germany, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Maldives, Mali, Marshall Islands, Mexico, Morocco, Netherlands, St. Lucia, Seychelles, South Africa, Spain, Uganda, United Kingdom, Vanuatu, Vietnam, New Zealand, Sweden, Norway, United States. European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, European Commission, UNDP, FAO, GEF, UNEP, UNFCCC, and the World Bank. We now have the second test of the partnership. Half of these ministers are going to stay up here now, and the other half are going to sit down. You know who you are. And we are going to ask each minister just to say one word, as to which is not easy. One word. So if the first batch of ministers could stay up here, be very grateful. I think you know who you are. And it's a great, yes, just stay standing. And it's a great honor to ask, first of all, the Foreign Minister of Australia, Julie Bishop, to say the first word.
Good morning, ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased that Australia is part of the NDC Partnership. Last year, we achieved the historic Paris Agreement for the world to take action against climate change. This year, we celebrate the early entry into force of the agreement. Australia completed ratification last week and will continue to take concrete action towards its implementation. At the heart of the Paris Agreement are our nationally determined contributions. These ensure countries play their part in limiting temperature rise to below 2 degrees. Our NDCs need to be as robust as possible. They are the business and investment plans which will drive our transition to a lower emissions, more climate resilient global economy. Of course, any plan is only as good as its implementation. Australia is investing in the NDC Partnership to support developing countries, particularly in our region, in successfully implementing their NDCs. Australia's decision to join the NDC Partnership is one part of a new initiative I'm announcing today to strengthen global action in the land sector.
Emissions from the land sector, primarily in agriculture and forestry, account for about 20% of global emissions and are growing rapidly. The land sector also presents some of our most complex adaptation challenges. Recognising this, around 100 NDCs have identified the land sector as a priority for action. The initiative Australia is launching today will support this priority. I'm pleased to announce that Australia will commit $16 million to support delivery of NDCs in the agriculture and forestry sectors, focusing on the Indo-Pacific region. This package will leverage Australia's world-leading expertise in the land sector. Australian farmers are exemplary environmentalists and have developed cutting-edge agricultural practices and technology to deal with the changing climate. Our foreign aid program also delivers mitigation and adaptation support through agricultural programs, helping farmers adjust to new climate realities and managing their land. The Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research, the government's specialist agricultural research agency, has been brokering partnerships for research and capacity building for over 30 years. I announced this new Indo-Pacific Land Action Package as a vehicle to share and build upon Australia's expertise. The initiative will support emissions reductions, resilience and economic growth in 3 ways. First, Australia will contribute $2 million over 2 years to the NDC Partnership to ensure a strong focus on the land sector in implementation. We'll also join the NDC Partnership Steering Committee. Second, Australia will provide $10 million to help Indonesia achieve its goal for a low-carbon and more efficient agriculture and forestry sector, which are its largest sources of emissions and economic activity. Third, we'll commit $4 million to support innovative public-private sector partnerships in the land sector. Mobilising private sector capital for the transition to a lower emission, more climate resilient economy is a core objective, and we'll scale these projects up over time by attracting private sector finance. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my one word. I'm delighted Australia will invest in the NDC Partnership and assure you Australia will continue to make a significant contribution.
Minister Bishop. In the spirit of things, I'd be grateful if some others would come and stand on the stage. Maybe we weren't clear, but if we'd have Marshall Islands, Canada, Chile, Costa Rica, UNDP, Denmark, DRC, and UNEP up here, and then we can move this fairly quickly. Second, I wonder whether there's quite a lot of room at the back for standing, and there are chairs back there. I wonder if those up that side could move that way, because there's a lot of people trying to get into the room. Would that be all right? Thank you very much indeed. It's a pleasure to have Minister Nick Hurd from the United Kingdom. 1 minute.
1 minute. 2 words. We're in. The UK would like to congratulate Germany and the WI and everyone involved in this initiative, which again feels like the right idea at the right time, because we all know that the real test of commitment to Paris Agreement is that every country does what it says it would do. And we all know as climate change ministers that actually as we look at our NDCs, it's very, very challenging. And therefore the space that is created for us to work together and support each other to deliver on Paris and deliver on all the spirit and values of Paris is exactly the right idea, which is why I'm delighted that we're in a position to join the partnership, commit £2 million as part of our £5.8 billion of climate finance that we have committed over this Parliament. I think this is a really good example. A really good example of how climate finance, that $100 billion that we've committed, can be used in a really strategic way to add a huge amount of value in this challenging process. So we're in, and I congratulate everyone involved.
Thank you, Minister, very much indeed. And I hope everyone heard that was 5.8 billion with a B. Thank you very much indeed. It's a pleasure to invite the Minister from Denmark to come up, Minister Lars Christian Lillehold.
Thank you very much, and thank for this important event. The Paris Agreement was a historic victory and marked the end of a long travel with many difficult talks. At a time like this, you might feel like sitting back and enjoying the success. But the Paris Agreement is only the beginning, and we are now ready for the next point on the agenda, implementation. And for that, we welcome the NDC partnerships. It is exactly the partnerships we need to pave the way for global implementation. This is also why Denmark supports the partnerships with 5 million Danish kroner. In Denmark, we have a long tradition of bilateral government-to-government partnerships focused on the energy sector. We are now involved in 7 countries. We believe coordination on the ground is the key to success, and we look forward to take it forward in the great partnerships with even more countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jolly good. It's a pleasure to invite the Minister from Chile, Pablo Bodinilla.
Buenos días a todos. Como gobierno de Chile, queremos dar las gracias al World
Good day to everybody
Institute,
on behalf of the
quien
government
ha
of Chile.
organizado el trabajo de esta coalición
We
y
want
con quien
to
Chile
support
tiene
the government,
experiencia en nuestro
manifest the government
INDC
of
en la
Chile's
sección de
experience.
compromiso forestal chileno. Chile pone a
Chile
disposición
is
del
putting at
partnership
its disposal
la
of the
experiencia de sus
partnership,
expertos en la preparación de los reportes mandatados por la
the
Convención de
reports,
Cambio
the
Climático,
annual reports that are mandated
como
by
es
the
el caso del
convention,
reporte bienal de
such as
actualización
the
y
biannual
las
report
comunicaciones
and the
nacionales.
national communications.
A propósito, la presidenta
President
Bachelet dará
Bachelet will
a
today
conocer
give
en
us
su discurso
in
en la
her
plenaria de
speech
hoy
in
nuestro
plenary,
segundo reporte
our
bienal de
second
actualización
biannual update
y nuestra
report
tercera
and our third
comunicación
national
nacional.
communication.
Chile fue el primer
Chile
país
was the first country in
latinoamericano
Latin America
en presentar su primer
present
reporte bienal
first
en la
biannual report
COP20
in
de
COP20
Perú el año
in Peru
2014
in
y el
2014
cuarto a nivel
and the fourth
mundial.
at national level.
También tenemos
We
experiencia
also have
que ofrecer
experience
en la
to offer
preparación de
in the
inventarios de
preparation
emisiones
of GHG
de gases de
inventories
efecto invernadero porque contamos
because
con
we
un
have
inventario
an
actualizado entre los años
inventory for the years
1990 y
between 1990
2013
and 2013
utilizando metodología IPCC
IPCC
del cual estamos
methodology,
muy orgullosos.
of which we are very proud.
También con el
Also,
apoyo de ONU
with the
Ambiente
support of
y del
UNEP
gobierno
and the
alemán
government of Germany,
hemos lanzado en septiembre
launched
recién pasado
in last
en
September
Santiago de Chile
in Santiago de
el
Chile,
trabajo de una
the
red
work
latinoamericana
of a Latin
de
American
equipos de
network
inventario
of
de gases de efecto
GHG
invernadero
inventory
para que entre los
equipment
países de la
so
región
that the countries
podamos
of the region
apoyarnos
can
en
support
contar
each
con
other
mejores inventarios
in making
que
sure we
presentar
have
a la convención.
the best inventories to
Estamos
present to the
convencidos que esta
convention.
coalición
We are
tendrá
convinced that
un
this
impacto
partnership
decisivo
will have a
en una
decisive
mejor
impact
implementación
in the better
del Acuerdo de
implementation
París.
of
Muchas
the
gracias.
Paris Agreement. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to invite Helen Clark, the head of UNDP. And I'd be grateful, by the way, as Helen's, if some of the other speakers could begin to come up here so that we can keep things going. As a partnership, we are going to be learning as we go along. It's not always going to be terribly smooth. And so this meeting is a wonderful example of how we're going to make it work. Eh, Helen?
Yes. Yes, Andrew. Good morning, everybody. And UNDP is obviously very happy to be part of the partnership. We know that the NDCs are at the very heart of the Paris Agreement, but like everything else, they're words on paper unless there's implementation. Working in virtually every developing country in the world, as UNDP does, we know that developing countries are very keen to get on with the NDCs, but many need support. It may be technical support, it may be building the capacity of officials, it may be support in accessing financing. And I think in all these areas, the partnership can really be extremely helpful. I'd like to particularly acknowledge the support we receive from the European Commission, from Germany, and from the Global Environment Facility to work with many, many countries on the preparation of their NDCs. We were helped with support for technical workshops, which brought about 120 countries together to support designing the NDCs. We actively help prepare around 43 in much greater depth, and we've been working with countries since the Paris Agreement now to get onto the implementation phase. I make only two final points. One, These NDCs need to be integrated into the development plans of countries. Sustainable development has to be the way we work. Climate change adaptation and mitigation is part of achieving sustainable development. This all needs to be at the heart of the national plans. And the second point is very important to have good strategies for mobilising financing. Some of it will be domestic resources. Some of it will be international public grant money. Others of it will be access to vertical funds, development bank financing. And then, of course, there's the huge role of the private sector, and that means getting the regulatory settings right to encourage the investment in renewables and other things which are extremely helpful to implementation of Paris. So very happy to be part of the agreement and look forward to working with everyone to really make it hum. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Helen. Thank you very much indeed, Helen Clark, and we thank you for your leadership in this. Maybe we could turn to Minister Sharon Dijksma from the Netherlands, who's been a real actor in this.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I think that global warming is here with us this morning. I mean, wow, what a temperature. I think that not everybody maybe knows where the Netherlands are, but my country is more than half of it is well below sea level. So we know our way around with adaptation. And I think that, yes, last year we signed a really important and historical agreement together, and now it's up to us to really make it work. And that's why I'm so proud that I'm part of the gathering here this morning, and that we are one of the founding partners for the NDCs and the way we are working with them. We can support in areas which we can add value, I would say. And that would be sectors like energy, like water, and also agriculture. We will continue to support countries in these areas for their implementations of their NDCs. And for instance, we support the development of delta plans that focus on long-term and continuing investment in adaptation. And we support access to renewable energy, such as clean cooking with clean cook stoves and domestic biogas installations. And in addition, we provide support for capacity building for the development and implementation of NDCs and transparency. For instance, through the Climate Development and Knowledge Network and CBIT. I would like to conclude that in all our activities, we have special attention for gender, because that we believe that women are the real agents of change. And by reducing emissions and making people more resilient, that is not only something that governments are obliged to. So we also try to cooperate with society. And I think that that beautiful agreement last year in Paris, it would not have been made without the support from the NGOs and without the support from businesses all over the world. There is a real business case for a green revolution, and maybe we should tell that to Mr. Trump too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Dijksma. That was terrific. Maybe we could turn to our good friend Edna Malowa, Minister from South Africa. Just think what you started in Durban, and now let's look at it.
We are here. Thank you very much, Andrew, and Excellencies. I was told that I have to say one word in 1 minute. South Africa welcomes the opportunity to say a few words on this important day as we launch the National Determined Contributions Partnerships. But before I talk about this partnership, Honourable Excellencies, I would like to make a few comments on the relevant work that we in South Africa are doing in relation to this. We are currently developing innovative policies, legislative, and institutional frameworks that will support the implementation of the NDCs. For example, on mitigation, South Africa has started implementing the first phase of its greenhouse emission reduction system. I mean here a system, a true system that will help us as we go forward to actually know that everybody is part of this system, which actually includes the allocation of carbon budgets to companies, As you know, that we have actually passed our carbon budget policy as well as legislation through Parliament. On adaptation, South Africa is developing its national adaptation strategy. And on knowledge management, South Africa produces an annual climate change report that captures the progress and lessons that have learned as we undertake our climate actions. And partnerships are very, very effective in this, in fast-tracking implementation, particularly when they are well managed with clear objectives as we see them being now. I am confident indeed, Honorable Excellencies, that the NDC partnership will be effective in providing an enabling environment for actions that reduce our country's emissions and build on the necessary resilience to be able to adapt to the impacts of climate change. Would like to thank the governments that initiated this partnership as well as the champions, and thank you very much indeed. We note that the NDC partnership is about sharing knowledge, is about facilitating technical assistance and financial support to the NDC implementation. And this also, by the way, also provides an opportunity, particularly for developing countries, to use this platform to achieve our development objectives, and that is very important for us. For South Africa, we see this partnership as an opportunity to enhance our implementation plans, which are guided by the National Climate Change Response Policy, which we've adopted when we were in Durban at COP17. And South Africa's National Climate Change Response Policy presents a vision of an effective climate change response and a long-term just transition to a climate resilient and low-carbon inclusive economy with two clear objectives on mitigation and adaptation. And I'd like to reiterate what was raised in the high-level meeting that took place here on Sunday, that the activities of the NDC partnership should be transparent and should not in any way attempt to replace the multilateral process. South Africa has decided to join this partnership to be a partner, a true partner indeed, and we are looking forward to working with other partners in making this NDC partnership a success. Would like to thank all partners who generously also have come on board, but Germany, Britain, and everybody, I mean, you know yourselves. Thank you very much indeed for this partnership. Thank you.
Well done, Minister Malewa. Thank you very much indeed. Minister Vidar Helgesen from Norway. And as we move forward, let's try and limit ourselves to 1 minute because we still have a few to go. And some ministers have to leave. Those that need to leave soon, maybe you'd come up to the stage now so you'd be ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, Norway is pleased to join the NDC partnership, and I'd like to thank Germany for this initiative. This may well be the most important initiative coming out of Marrakesh. And why is that? Simply because the NDCs are the cornerstone of the Paris commitment. And delivering on that commitment comes down to implementation. And the NDCs will also be the cornerstone of the implementation challenge. Delivering on NDCs should also be done, as Helen said, as a part of national development plans. It's also about delivering on the SDGs, the full development agenda before us. Many of us are ready to support NDC implementation. The NDC partnership will ensure that we can do that in a coordinated and results-oriented way, and that's why this is such a critical initiative. We're proud and we're pleased to support it. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you, Minister Helgesen, very much indeed. Let's turn to France, Minister Vallini.
Mesdames et Messieurs, je remercie nos partenaires marocains et allemands ainsi que les organisateurs de cet événement qui, à quelques minutes de la cérémonie d'ouverture, témoignent de notre engagement résolu, déterminé, inflexible, engagement à œuvrer pour la mise en œuvre de l'accord de Paris. Face à l'urgence climatique, il nous faut agir vite, il nous faut agir fort et aider les pays les plus vulnérables à s'adapter au changement climatique. C'est pourquoi la France soutient ce partenariat depuis le début et elle fait désormais partie du comité de pilotage de l'initiative. Nous allons évidemment appuyer financièrement l'unité technique du partenariat et mettre un expert technique à sa disposition. Nos actions pour le climat s'intègrent déjà pleinement dans ce partenariat. C'est le cas par exemple de la facilité lancée par l'AFD, l'Agence française de développement, dotée de 30 millions d'euros pour 2016-2017, qui accompagnera les pays les plus vulnérables dans la mise en œuvre de leurs contributions nationales, en particulier dans le volet adaptation. Elle s'appuiera sur l'expertise de l'AFD. D'autres interventions viendront compléter cette facilité, car vous le savez, la France est engagée à accroître significativement ses financements pour le climat à hauteur de 5 milliards d'euros en 2020. Je dis bien 5 milliards d'euros en 2020. Seule une solidarité accrue et une action renforcée nous permettront de répondre collectivement à l'urgence climatique. Le renforcement des capacités dans les pays en développement est essentiel pour réduire les vulnérabilités avec 3 impératifs, l'ambition, l'efficacité et la justice. Ce partenariat répond à ces 3 exigences. La France continuera donc à le soutenir résolument.
Merci, Monsieur le Ministre. Merci beaucoup. I'll call Jonathan Pershing and maybe Vice Minister Botuan Nan to come on the stage. And I will give the floor to, yes, and Minister, yes, if you could come to the stage. Yes, excellent. Thank you. I will ask Paula Bennett to come in and make her comments.
I'm Paula Bennett, the Minister of Climate Change from New Zealand, and we are very pleased to join the NDC Partnership. As we all say, NDCs are an important mechanism through which the purpose of the Paris Agreement can be achieved, and we have set ourselves a very ambitious target and one where we will be lowering emissions in New Zealand. New Zealand has also been actively involved in implementing the NDCs of our Pacific neighbours for many years through our significant investments in renewable energy in Pacific Island countries, many of whom have ambitious renewable energy targets at the centre of their NDCs. In addition to our direct climate-related support efforts, we have also worked creatively to mobilise finance at scale for renewable energy in the Pacific over the past few years. Our co-hosting with the EU of Pacific Energy Conferences in 2013 and 2016 has mobilised over $2 billion in finance from a range of donors for renewable energy projects. As we all know, this is great for our climate, but also great for the people of those islands who have access to energy and power that they didn't have before, and the education benefits and others are obvious. More broadly, we've been involved in the whole NDC process for the Pacific, and we're very pleased to be here today, and thank Morocco very much for hosting us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paula. Thank you very much. Can I ask Minister Kushi Yamamoto from Japan to come and deliver his remarks? Thank you, Minister.
NDC パートナーシップが立ち上がることにお祝いを申し上げるとともに、これまで尽力されたドイツ政府、モロッコ政府および WRI のリーダーシップに敬意を表します。
Congratulations for the inauguration of NDC Partnership. Let me express my great respect for the efforts made so far by the governments of Germany and Morocco and WRI for their leadership.
パリ協定を実効的に運用していくための鍵の一つは、途上国の実施を国際社会が協力して支援していくことにあると考えます。NDC パートナーシップはそのための核となり得るものです。
So in order to have effective implementation of the Paris Agreement, one of the keys is to have international society in cooperation to support developing countries for their implementation. And NDC partnership can play a very important role for that purpose.
我が国は今般、我が国の技術や経験に基づき、途上国の NDC 実施支援を発展させるべく、気候変動対策支援イニシアチブを取りまとめました。例えば、適用の取り組みについて、アジア太平洋地域における気候変動リスク情報の拠点となる情報プラットフォームを2020年までに構築する予定です。
Recently, we have formulated the initiative for supporting climate change measures with the purpose to advance our support for developing countries drawing upon our technology and knowledge with regard to their NDC implementation. What is a part of the initiative? for instance, is to establish a platform for climate change risk information in the Asia-Pacific region by 2020 to facilitate adaptation measures.
日本は NDC パートナーシップととも連携を取りつつパリ協定を後押ししてまいります。
Japan is determined to work together with the NDC partnership to give momentum to the Paris Agreement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. I will ask now Vice Minister Boutwan Nan from Vietnam to take the floor and deliver his remarks.
Kính thưa toàn thể quý vị,
Excellencies,
là một trong những quốc gia chịu nhiều tác động của biến đổi khí hậu, Việt Nam hiểu rằng ứng phó biến đổi khí hậu đóng vai trò quan trọng để đạt được phát triển bền vững. Quan điểm này được đưa vào trong kế hoạch thực hiện thỏa thuận Paris tại Việt Nam, trong đó triển khai thực hiện NDC đóng vai trò trọng tâm.
as one of the countries most affected by climate change, Vietnam considers addressing climate change a crucial way for achieving sustainable development. This has been included as one of the viewpoints in our national plan to implement Paris Agreement with NDC implementation as a main focus.
Việt Nam cho rằng hỗ trợ tài chính, chuyển giao công nghệ, tăng cường năng lực và trao đổi kinh nghiệm giữa các quốc gia đóng vai trò rất quan trọng trong việc nâng cao kỳ vọng về ứng phó với biến đổi khí hậu.
Vietnam sees that international support on finance, technology transfer, capacity building, and exchange of experiences among countries play an important role in increasing ambition in responding to climate change.
Vì vậy, tôi đánh giá rất cao và rất hoan nghênh việc thành lập đối tác NDC nhằm hỗ trợ các quốc gia đang phát triển thực hiện NDC.
I therefore would like to welcome and highly appreciate the establishment of NDC Partnership, which would help facilitate the implementation of NDCs in developing countries.
Tôi hy vọng các đối tác NDC sẽ đóng góp hiệu quả vào nâng cao kỳ vọng về ứng phó biến đổi khí hậu thông qua tăng cường năng lực NDC.
I hope that and believe the partnership will contribute effectively to increasing ambition of responding to climate change by promoting NDC implementation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I ask the ones who are just at the door to come in and to ask everyone who has to deliver remarks to come on the stage now? And I see the Deputy Director of FRO, I see many more. That's good. Who is the guy with the... Thank you. Jonathan, can you make your remarks?
Thanks very much, everyone. I'm Jonathan Pershing, the Special Envoy for Climate Change for the United States. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to first off thank particularly our partners in Germany for establishing this important initiative, as well as our organizers, WRI, for making this happen. I think I'd like to echo the comments made by others about the heart of the Paris Agreement, which really is the NDC. And what we are struck by is how much progress has already been made since we did the Paris deal. How many countries have already moved to implement their agendas, how much investment is already available in the global marketplace to look at clean options for the energy sector, at reducing emissions from the forestry sector, at managing the impacts and the concerns about infrastructure moving forward. We have changed the world, make no mistake about it, and what we are now doing is accelerating that exercise, and this agenda can facilitate that endeavor. The United States has seen our own change here. Last year, we invested more in renewable energy and put more renewable energy on the grid than fossil fuels combined. That's the same at the global level. Last year, we've also seen unusual impacts of climate change in our domestic context. We are now working to rebuild from floods in Louisiana, from droughts in California, and from storms on the East Coast. All of us in the world face these impacts, and the structure of the NDC work can help us move on that score. The United States launched just yesterday a new compact on NDC leadership. We're working with a host of small set of countries that are leading in this domain. We began in 2011 on the Low Emissions Development Strategy Program, working with 24 countries. That contributes to this exercise. We have worked on a coordination mechanism with the World Bank, with the UK, and with others on bringing countries together to exchange expertise. That contributes to this exercise. This now is the next phase, and we are proud to be partners. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you very much. Good to feel that the US team is on board still. Minister, si me puede llamar Minister from Costa Rica, Edgar Gutierrez Espinosa, the leader in climate carbon neutrality country.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Costa Rica welcomes the launch of the NDC Partnership and salutes the leadership of Morocco and Germany in bringing together this coalition of developed and developing countries partners to pool their resources in order to help countries achieve ambitious climate and sustainable development targets as quickly and effectively as possible. Costa Rica proudly accepted to serve on the steering committee of the NDC Partnership, and we hope that we can share our experience in practical climate action and sustainable development policies to help other countries build up their ambition under the Paris Agreement. I am convinced that the momentous task we have before us, with the early entry into force of the Paris Agreement, will require that all players be involved in these efforts, not just governments, but also international institutions, non-state actors, and private sector. We must find new ways of interacting in order to adequately share information, learn from each other, and fill existing knowledge gaps. Costa Rica has proposed in its NDC to become a laboratory for decarbonization, and we hope that the NDC Partnership can become a key vehicle for implementing this vision. I agree totally with my colleague, Minister from Norway, that perhaps this is going to be one of the most important outcomes of this meeting in Marrakesh. Thank you, Germany, for taking the lead.
Muchas gracias, Ministro. Muchas gracias. I will call now Laura Trusk from the World Bank to deliver her remarks.
Thanks, Lawrence. Let me start by thanking the German government, the Moroccan government for their co-leadership here, and our great partners at WR. You guys are hot. You're tired of listening to a lot of people talk. So I'm going to make 3 really quick points about this partnership because it is so exciting. First, it is a completely different way of doing business. We are bringing together cooperation between countries, donors, experts, financing institutions in a collective way. Picture all these countries out there. They don't know where to go. How do they start? To whom do they turn? This is the spot. We have countries where people are falling all over. They're being bombarded by different offers of help in all these different places, uncoordinated, different kinds of advice. This partnership will organize all that and provide a comprehensive way for them to think about that, and that is cool.
That's a very important point, Laura.
So to help that, we've set up a database. It sounds really boring, but it is so interesting. This database analyzes every single NDC in detail to be shared everywhere. It's searchable. It is open software for every single member of this partnership, so we can learn from each other. We can see what we're doing. You can enter, you can look, and we can learn and grow. So that's really exciting. Then thank you. The meat of it, of course, is the partnership will come and it will help work with ministers of finance and countries to develop policies, investment plans that get them the biggest carbon bang for their buck. Some countries don't know what to do. Some countries don't know how to do it. This partnership will bring technical assistance from everywhere it's available to help them do it, and that is fantastic. And of course, we at the World Bank are there to accompany them with our financing. We are the arm of implementation, and we're there for this. Thank you.
Excellent. Bravo, bravo, bravo. And that's not a small institution saying that. Please. lady from, you are the deputy,
FAO.
the deputy director general of FAO, Maria Elena Semedo.
Thank you. Good morning. FAO is very happy to be part of this partnership. And as it has been said, this partnership will help us to move from commitments to action. And it has been said several times, is the COP of action. What will be required by this NDC partnership? Will require that we develop innovative policies, that we have institutional framework, that we assess the resources we need, and we need financial resources. And for us in FAO, that is why this partnership is so important. The agriculture sectors have not been talked about, but it came out from our analysis on the NDCs as one of the priorities. 90% of the NDCs, they refer to agriculture as a priority. And what needs to be done? We need investment, well-targeted investment, to increase income, food security, resilience for farming families. We need to improve the management of natural resources, to preserve biodiversity, improve carbon sequestration, while easing the pressure that drives deforestation. We need a robust partnership where all agriculture stakeholders participate together. And this will be the only opportunity to fight climate change, poverty, and food security in a tandem, and how we can help the smallholder farmers becoming the agents of change we need with this transformation. FAO looks forward to working with the NDC Partnership to leave a legacy which we can all be proud. Let's work on the legacy.
Thank you, Maria Elena. This agriculture forest land use is a key element, a proof that it's not only about mitigation, but it's only about adaptation as well. So thank you to be part of it. I will call now Mr. Manservisi, another big actor in the domain of development and aid. Mr. Manservisi is director at the European Commission for I don't know the name now of the direction, International Cooperation and Development, because they change names, you know, from time to time.
Well, thank you very much. I will be very brief. First, thanks to Morocco and Germany for made this possible. Second, I have to say that this is probably one of the most important, if not the most important deliverable today in Marrakesh, and having this immediately before the formal opening of the summit, I think is a powerful message, because this means translating commitment into action. And this is what is the most difficult thing. And it is about partnership. As a European Union, we already started actually in supporting NDCs, and we are working with our partner countries in order to allow right policies and good investment. But I think that this is a powerful boost in order to do it better and to do it together. It's about partnership. It's not only about money. It's about sharing. It's about all what is said there. And therefore we stand ready not only in adding further money, the hundreds of millions that we already planned to this, but we stand ready to sit, to work, to discuss, to share, because this is about our future, our common future. And therefore I think that we have to take it extremely seriously. It's not a pledge more, it's an action more. Thank you very much to the God.
Hey, brilliant.
Thank you. And very swiftly, Eric Solheim, CEO of UNEP.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry to be so late, but seeing a good number of very good friends here and here. And congratulations to Germany for reaching out and stretching out and providing resources to this partnership, which is very, very helpful. So thank you, Thomas, and thank you to your government. Thank you, Barbara. Maybe we should thank more of you, but thanks so much. It's very good. And of course, thank you to United Nations Development, to World Resource Institute. I think this has a huge potential. The knowledge and the resources of these people, your financial and outreach resources, it can be very, very important. And just to make that clear, we are now in a period where a lot of the leadership on climate is not coming just from the United States and from Europe. A lot of the leadership is coming from the developing world. And to strengthen that leadership will be critical, and we see it nearly in all dimensions, not least right here in Morocco, Morocco is a global leader when it comes to renewable energies, the biggest focused solar plant in the world, but providing exactly the leadership which we need. And we know we see the same leadership from Costa Rica, from China, and from so many other developing nations. So I think this is an enormous potential, and I just wanted to come to say thank you to you all.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. And you're totally right. This partnership is not about North-South relation, it's about joint leadership. You find exactly the right words. Now I will leave the floor for very, very short comments to Andrew. I would like Barbara and Hakima to come to the stage because you will deliver the final remarks. And Andrew would say something, I'm sure. Very encouraging.
Look, thank you for doing what you just did, ministers. You acted in the spirit of the partnership. You were flexible, you were quick, you were professional, and you acted as a team. And that's exactly what we're going to try and do in this partnership. It is a partnership of high ambition. It's a partnership for those who know that implementing NDCs is difficult. It's a partnership for those that understand we need to learn together. Let me again thank both Germany and Morocco. Thank you for hosting us, Minister Al-Haiti, and thank you so much for all you've done. It's an honor to work with you all.
Thank you. I think all over the different presentation, we listened to the main message we wanted out of this launch. This is a major initiative, one of the big results of Marrakesh COP. That's very important, one. Second is about joint leadership. Is a different set of relation and a different way of doing business. These three messages have been very clear, very forceful. I think we will bring them to, not tomorrow, but after tomorrow in the high-level event, and that would be one of the big highlights, meaning that we continue, we are sure we are going in the right direction, and we are proving it by implementing as soon as we can. So that's a very powerful message, and I'm sure Akima will even highlight more what's going on.
Merci Laurence, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs. Je suis en train de me demander si nous, toutes les deux, les championnes, on avait le droit de déclarer les pays et les institutions qui ont fait des déclarations avant mon passage les champions du climat. Parce que, Mesdames et Messieurs, aujourd'hui, nous avons entendu de très belles choses. Nous avons exactement entendu que tout ce que nous avons rêvé à Paris était en train de devenir une réalité. Nous avons entendu que ce n'était pas une transition écologique, c'était un changement de civilisation, c'était une nouvelle révolution industrielle. Nous sommes en train d'écrire l'histoire et ça commence aujourd'hui parce que le seul moyen de mettre en œuvre l'accord de Paris, c'est de commencer par la mise en œuvre des NDC. Donc je voudrais dire à tous nos amis, à tous nos champions qui sont dans cette salle, merci. Merci de rendre Paris une réalité dans le quotidien de tous les peuples qui nous attendent et qui ont attendu cette COP de Marrakech. Merci de passer de la réflexion à la construction. Merci de passer de la confrontation du Sud et du Nord à la coopération. C'est ce que nous sommes en train de faire. Merci de réunir autour de la même table les acteurs qui peuvent concrétiser Paris. Et c'est ce que nous avons fait grâce au leadership de l'Allemagne, grâce à votre leadership, mesdames et messieurs, grâce à toi, Laurence. Merci à tous. Et je ne voudrais pas revenir sur les chiffres. Je peux du moins dire que le NDC Partnership est opérationnel grâce à vous qui avez fait des déclarations de dons pour que le NDC Partnership commence à être opérationnel aujourd'hui et pas demain. Je voudrais dire merci à la France et j'ai bien retenu les 5 milliards d'ici à 2020 pour le climat. Merci à tous ceux qui ont apporté l'assistance technique parce qu'on a besoin aussi de l'assistance technique pour la préparation des NDC et des business plans. Et je voudrais enfin dire que le Maroc peut aussi contribuer dans cette belle réalisation. On ne peut pas rester en dehors. Nous mettons à votre disposition, à la disposition des pays, le savoir-faire que le Maroc a accumulé dans les énergies renouvelables. Et sachez qu'aujourd'hui, on est à moins de 5 cents au niveau de kilowattheure dans l'agriculture et dans l'eau. Donc merci à tous de commencer une nouvelle page de l'histoire du climat ici à Marrakech. Merci.
You see that to have a co-champion like Akima, you know, you don't rest a lot, huh? You have to work hard just to follow her. So I'm very happy to call Barbara, who has been a force behind all this. Again, so small number of months to launch that, to decide that, and to make it operational, as Barbara said. As Akima said, I'm confounding the two. Barbara, of course, you are the Minister of Environment, of Energy, Nuclear Safety, and Nature Conservation and Building. So big portfolio, and of course central to this task. And again, thank you to have been behind this and to make this happen today.
Thank you. Thank you, Hakima, and all my colleagues from all over the world. I would also like to thank the World Resource Institute, President Andrew Steer and his team for helping to ensure the successful launch of the NDC Partnership. And thank you, Laurence, very much through you. Ladies and gentlemen, there are very high expectations for the NDC Partnership, which I see as an implementing partnership. And here today in Marrakesh, we have made a very great step. This will help us all in Germany too. As you probably know, yesterday the German government formally adopted a Climate Action Plan 2050, our long-term strategy. The Climate Action Plan will map out how we in Germany can become an almost greenhouse gas neutral economy by 2050. This entails a fundamental transformation of German society and is the logical consequence of the Paris Agreement. We are all facing similar challenges, which is why the NDC Partnership should also be seen as a forum for exchanges. In this partnership, developed countries, emerging economies, and developing countries, including the economically weakest countries, and international organizations come together on equal footing. We all want to systematically interlink and integrate climate and development cooperation. Working together to find the best solutions, identifying measures and policies for the accelerated implementation of the NDCs. However, it is important to bear in mind that every country is in a different and individual situation. Each country has to find its own path to effective climate action and sustainable development. But while we follow our path, we can all learn from each other. Ladies and gentlemen, to achieve implementation, climate action has to be forged into investment plans that have to be financed. We developed countries have committed to giving our full support to developing countries, and we are happy to do this. In a joint effort between climate and development policy stakeholders, the NDC Partnership will mobilize sources of finance, national and international sources, and public and private ones. The experience that we all gain from implementation is valuable, and exchanges on this experience will strengthen the partnership we have launched today. Transparency is a key element of the Paris Agreement. Transparent reporting is paramount to create the necessary confidence and trust and determine the progress we have made. This is why I attach special importance to the partnership playing its part in this area too, building capacities and showing which instruments, programs and support are already available. The NDC is a new approach to strengthening international cooperation. It will give us a better overview and access to existing knowledge, tools, support programs, and of course to financing. It will bring together development cooperation and climate financing, both for donor and recipient countries. It will enable us to listen to and learn from each other and to improve coordinated cooperation. This increases efficiency and generates synergies. It will help us identify gaps and ensure that we do not leave anyone behind. Ladies and gentlemen, this underscores the importance of the NDC partnership. It is a real partnership between North and South. Once again, thank you all. Let us take giant steps forward while making sure that nobody is left behind. I wish you and I wish us all every success.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Akima. I think it's very hot there, meaning that this partnership is about giving energy to each other. We are doing it. So now it's, of course, the importance of really producing efficiency. That's good. That's good to see them together. I'm coming.